Sharing to live stream.
Live stream, got it.
Got it. Still says setting up your meeting on YouTube Live. Let me just be sure it comes on. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now let me start the recording. Resume recording.
Okay. There you go, Dave. You got it? All set?
Okay. Okay, we're ready to go, I think, John.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I will go ahead and
Can you
call
hear me okay?
I can hear you. You sound clear. It's very good. Okay, I call the June Guam Board of Accountancy board meeting to order. Present are board members Taling Chaitano, Francis Baba, Jenny Chu, and myself, and Executive Director Dave Sanford. And we are still pending one more board member. Now, before we begin, Dave, just want to reconfirm for the record that the meeting was properly noticed. I'm just looking at the, yep, meeting was properly noticed. And so we can go ahead and proceed.
Yep.
So the first item on the agenda would be the approval of last meeting's minutes. And last meeting was April. We had skipped the May meeting as agreed. Correct. So
move to approve subject to correction.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Francis. Thank you, Francis. So minutes to the April meeting are approved. So we'll go ahead and move on to old business.
Okay, we'll do the first old business is the endowment fund update. As you can see, it's decreased a little, more like 12%. We're down. This says we're down 888,000 year to date. Fortunately, most of that is unrealized because the market's down from 35,000 to 30,000. But you know, but eventually, hopefully, it'll go back up. But we're still at 4.1 million, really, based on the fact that we contributed 1,250,000 this fiscal year so far. So that's kind of where we're at, but basically what it's showing us is that for the last 2 years we had almost a 12% gain each year, and this year to date 2022 so far we're down to 12%, which essentially means we're back to where we were in 2020 from a gain standpoint. So but overall, I think we're still ahead of the game from an investment standpoint. I've put all the statements here if anybody cares to look. We've paid $23,227 to date, year to date this year in investment management fees. So our 250,000 contribution was made in April. We had one more TCD that expired, and we got the check. I think it was Bank Pacific, and we have yet to contribute that to the endowment fund based on some of the proceedings we had with the visiting professor and the ad hoc committee, and some of the recommendations that have been made relative to whether we want to keep funding things that aren't worthwhile. So, John, I don't know if you want to discuss that or not, but
which one in particular, Dave?
The results of the ad hoc committee's recommendation being killed.
Okay, so the status is right now that Ray Johnson has put together a draft. I reviewed it. I gave him my comments, and then he looked at it, made some changes, and sent it to me just late last week. I have not had the time to take a look at it, but I plan to look at it and respond to him by tomorrow. And I think once he's okay, he's going to send a draft to all the members of the ad hoc committee and to get their input. But I just without providing too much details, because there's only two of us on the committee. I think there were some very good suggestions, and hopefully the university will at least listen to the results and make the right decision, I think. But I'll wait for the actual committee to communicate the results.
Okay, that's cool. Anyway, we're just holding that. That was 250,000 that matured. And I think the next one, the last one we have is the Bank of Hawaii, that's going to mature sometime later this year or early next year, I think, because it was the 2-year one. So, but we have the funds to contribute if and when we decide it's a prudent thing to do. So.
Can I ask a question about the ad hoc committee recommendations? I noticed that that there's a Master's of Accountancy that they're starting up, and I was just wondering if the committee report might have addressed some of it, that development of that program.
I think there was discussion about that among the committee, and I think that discussion centered around realigning that master's program content to match with the CPA evolution process that's going on. So it's the program itself is in an approval process, but I think the ad hoc committee's role was more to address how it needed to be modified to align itself with the CPA evolution for the new exam more than anything. But I think Martha's been put in charge of the master's program. So.
Yes, but Tolling, I believe that part of the recommendations will address the MAC program in terms of how it will, I guess, address CPA evolution.
Is that what you wanted to know, Tolling?
Yeah, I'm just curious because I received a couple of emails about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's as a board, we definitely need to be concerned about the university and how they're going to educate and the accounting graduates and their ability to sit for the CPA exam. So when the CPA exam changes, and Dave can talk more about this, when it changes starting January 2024, there needs to be something in place so that when students major in accounting at UOG, they will be just able to sit for the exam. And so and that's still unclear because the MAC program was just approved, right? But I haven't seen the actual courses, Dave.
Yeah, I haven't either. Not since the original thing I got from Martha about 3 years ago. But I know she and Ray discussed it with her extensively. So I think Martha has a handle on what needs to get done. I think the process is now just getting it done. But John's right. We need to be able to produce CPAs, and the university needs to be able to produce CPAs, not just basic bookkeepers and accountants. So, and that's where we want to go with it. We want to be sure that we target our efforts to supporting the production of CPAs. Our visiting professor program was I think successful overall. It stirred the pot a little bit and got a lot of things under discussion and revealed a few things and enlightened all of us, I think, all the way around to some extent. And Ray has said that he's willing to come back again for another semester as long as the university makes some of the changes that he thought needed to be made. So we'll see when that comes out of the ad hoc committee report and where it goes from there. I've also talked to Ruben Davila. I know a couple of you may have met him in the past. And he's very interested in coming and possibly taking a sabbatical from USC to come and spend a whole year at UOG. You know, it's the thing that's impeding his coming at this point is a family matter having to do with taking care of his mom. So he said as soon as he gets that squared away, then he'd be interested in discussing coming as a visiting professor also. I think Ruben would also be very good for the program. I know he'd be happy to teach as part of the MAC program. So, and I think that's one of the things that we're going to need is to supplement the faculty with people who can teach at the MAC level. So.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where we stand at this point. But I think if, you know, the market eventually recovers itself to something reasonable and we put in our other $500,000 that we'll have by the end of this year, early next year, calendar year, then we'll be right at around the 5 million mark, and we should be able to draw down, or hopefully, you know, earn enough and draw down enough annually to at least support the faculty that's needed to teach in terms of visiting professors, or from the MAC perspective, I understand it's supposed to be a fully online course. So if that's the case, then we can potentially get additional faculty to support it without the travel cost, et cetera. So that might work also. So one way or another, we need to be supporting that, though, to qualify our local candidates for licensure. So.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? The new licensee reimbursement policy update, I want to table for now. That's the one I'm still looking at, that scholarship voucher program that North Carolina uses, and I got the details from the executive director. David Nance is the executive director there now. I got the details of how they go about it, but I'm looking into a little bit about how we can adapt it to fit our potential. What they do is produce, they send vouchers to the universities. The universities pick the kids that are eligible for the vouchers, which cover the actual cost of taking the exam. The universities supposedly pick them based on need and circumstance, I guess. And then the kids are given the vouchers to use to take the exam. And if they don't use it, or if they don't take the exam, or they don't use it, then it's returned. If they use it, then they're committed to using it for taking the exam, or they have to pay it back if they use the funds any other way. So I'm trying to get the exact details of how they work that through their law to be sure that we can be able to do that. Something I'm going to have to send through the AG's office, I think. But that's where I want to go with that. So unless anybody has any questions about that, we can move on.
No questions from me, Dave. Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay, so I think the next item is the RFP. Talling, you want to address that?
Thank you, Dave. So as you're probably aware, we issued RFP for the board licensing and administrative services on April 4th. The proposals were due on May 31st. We were able to get assistance from Marlon Aguilar with the AG's office. She helped to provide the templates that we needed for the RFP and all the forms that went along with it. I can't believe how many memos we have to prepare to, to support this. But in any case, we received one proposal, and I think I copied the board in on most on the discussions to try to get clarification on certain things. We got a proposed proposal, and I'm recommending that we go ahead and award the contract to Sanford Technology Group for a fixed price contract not to exceed $316,000 annually. And I just want to say that I did notice that I made a little mistake in my memo. I said that the term should begin October 1st, but the current contract expires on the 20th. So I know when I put the contract together, I did indicate the 21st as the start date. Is that correct, Dave? The current contract expires on the 20th? If not,
I don't know. I've always just considered it going through the end of the fiscal year and starting on October 1st. So
okay.
I think the October 1st date is fine. So
okay. So I'll need to go back and adjust the contract then to show the October 1st start date. So anyway, this memo kind of summarizes the work that went into putting the procurement together, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
That's all the requirements. Yeah.
And then once we get the contract signed, I'll complete the procurement file and hand it over to the board so they can keep it for their files.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what do we need to do next? Do we need to have
Just need a motion
motion
for
to approve?
approval, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
any questions first from any of the members of the board?
No questions, but thank you very much for putting this together and spearheading it, Colin. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Francis. I'd like to, of course, acknowledge and thank Tolling for handling the process. I mean, I know she's an expert in this, and it really showed.
I think she wishes she wasn't an expert.
But I do want to mention though that Aguilar, sorry, what's her first name? Marlon was very helpful and responsive to assisting with the RFP. So I really appreciate the help she provided to us. Okay, so can I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Seconded.
Second by Jenny. Okay, thank you. So the RFP 001-2022 for the licensing and administrative services has been awarded to Sanford Technology Group. Thank you.
Okay. So, John, I think you and Dave have the contract and the draft notice or the notice to intent to award and the memo for the AG's office. So just let me know if you need any assistance with that.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I think I sent everything, and I also gave Arlene a full copy of the original proposal so she could scan it. So I think she has everything she needs to put the whole thing together, and then we can route it to get it signed and then drop to the AG's office. So I think we're okay with that. We'll probably have it routed, John, sometime Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing, Dave, is on the last page of the contract. I believe I did put the start date of September 21st. So if you want to change that to 10/1, please do.
I will. I'll just fix it. I'll fix the dates. I've always just considered it as through the end of the fiscal year, so it's cleaner that way.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that's good. I appreciate it. I can say the wage determination that we used was the latest one, but there were actually no changes between it and the one we used just previously to do the last amendment on the last contract. So everything will be status quo for the next year, and we'll go from there. So. Okay, next on the list is the applications for licensure. And I think we have 30 something of them now. We don't have any Guam candidates, at least not that I know of. We have one from Texas and one from New Jersey, I think, but everybody else is foreign. But we didn't have any issues with any of these. So we'll, unless anybody has any questions, we just need a motion to approve it.
Move to approve.
Can I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So
Yeah.
applications for certifications and licenses to practice are approved.
Okay, we only had 38 this month because the ladies are working on renewals. They're inundated with renewals, so they got at least 38 done. So we're ahead of the game in that regard. This is a request for extension for a lady who had COVID twice and was diagnosed with diabetes, and then had urine infections, and gave us, 125 pages of doctor's notes and all kinds of stuff, and is asking to extend her audit credit for 2 months. I don't have an issue with that, or 3 months from, well, I guess it's that, yeah, 3 months from May to August, so she can try to take the exam and complete it. So I don't really have an issue with it, but she, gave us a lot of documentation and talked about the time she lost, and the fact that she's, wants her audit credit because she's planning on taking the FAR and Reg to finish. So she's hoping not to lose her audit credit. I don't have a problem with extending it to August, and that gives her a couple months, and she either makes it or she doesn't. So, but I think it's a fair thing to do.
What was she asking for initially? Did she say anything specific?
Just the 3 months.
Just 3 months? Okay.
Just for the audit credit. So I
Okay.
guess she plans to try and finish the exam by the end of August. So that's all she asked for. So. But this is all the stuff she presented, her lab work and all kinds of things we don't really want to know. So,
Her lab work, huh? Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So unless the board has any objections, we'll just grant her the extension to August and see how she does.
Okay.
I can say we've had a couple of other requests. We had one guy request that from China that wants us to extend his credit to December of 2023, another 18 months or 19 months, because his company he works for has said that if you want to work here, you can't travel. So give us your passports and da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't think we can extend anybody's credit for 18 months already.
Okay.
Most of it's been extended for at least a year to 18 months due to COVID. And that goes through June 30th. And I just don't see that we should extend any of those anymore. Unless there's some really extraordinary circumstance, which I haven't seen any yet. Okay. Moving on, this is the signing of the MRA with Ireland, CPA Ireland from the IQUAB. So you have Ken and Barry and, the two executive officers here. So it's a mutual recognition with Ireland. It's funny that they did Ireland and they've been working on Scotland and England, and they can't seem to get the others together to agree, but they did get Ireland done. So, but of course we haven't signed on to any of the MRAs. So if we did, we'd be inundated with people from Australia and Hong Kong wanting to do business here. We occasionally get people wanting to use an MRA to get a license in Guam so they can use the Guam license to go somewhere in the States, which we deny also. So the other thing is that Prometric expanded international testing, well, the triad to locations. So essentially what they did was they didn't really open any more locations. What they said was, in all the locations we have all around the world, anybody can test anywhere. So it doesn't really matter where you are or where you're from. We'll let you test wherever you can get to a testing center. So there may be one or two exceptions to that, but not much. So, but since the middle of 2020, I guess, or late 2020, when they opened testing in Korea and Japan to all of Asia, it hasn't made much difference. So it killed our test center, but that's about it. So I just want everybody to be aware.
So Dave,
Yep.
I guess who would want to come to Guam to take the CPA exam?
Well, I'm thinking that we still will get potentially get a reasonable amount of Chinese candidates, because the Chinese have a really hard time getting visas into Japan and Korea, apparently.
Okay.
So that's what I'm hearing. So
That's funny though. That means they're saying it's easier to get into the US to take the exam than it is to get into Japan or Korea.
I think that seems to be
Chinese.
what they're saying. Yeah, at least to
Okay.
come to Guam anyway. So I'm thinking that the candidates we would get to come to the test center would be Chinese mostly, or other Asian. I don't know about the Taiwanese, but the mainland Chinese, the Mongolians, and some of the others.
Okay,
But
that's not
we'll
much.
see. I mean, China's still in a pretty well lockdown status. So, even though Korea's opened up and Japan is opening up, and Taiwan even, but China is still kind of locked down. So it'll probably be another 6 months before we really see any activity there. Okay. The CPA evolution transition, basically what it amounts to here is that what the CBT admin committee, the executive director committee, and a lot of other committees, the NASVA boards, AICPA, everybody, we've all considered what to do with candidates that had credit as of January 2024 and how long should we extend it. And the ultimate final consensus was that we should just give them the 18 months, because it's no way to tell. And what that means is that somebody who took the exam in, October of 2022 and passed a section and has credit for it as of January 2024 still existing, then that credit's going to get extended another 18 months automatically. But if somebody took the exam in December of 2023 and had credit, then that's going to get extended 18 months. So the one would get maybe 19 months, the other one would get maybe 2.5 years. But there's just no way ultimately to try to manage that so that everybody gets the same amount of time. It's too difficult to try and manage it effectively. So the overall decision was just to grant everybody who had any credit as of January 1st, when the new exam starts, those credits will be automatically extended to June 2025. The reason they picked the 18 months is because the new exam will be given starting in January 2024, but there won't be any grades from that first quarter of January, February, March. There probably won't be any grades until July or August because of the score delays, because they have to, do an analysis of the scoring and come up with a new raw score, cut score analysis and all this kind of stuff. So, and validate the scoring from a psychometrician perspective. So that's the reason. That's the reason they went with the 18 months. Bless you.
Okay.
So just so everybody knows, that's what the final policy decision was. Give everybody 18 months.
18 months.
That
Okay.
should eliminate all of the people requesting for extensions all the time. So. Next thing we have is the candidate care report, and it's pretty much standard as usual. Out of the 231 complaints for the first quarter, the majority of them were scheduling issues. A lot of that is concerned around weather. And then the next biggest category is the technical software thing. And this is one of the things they think will be eliminated with the new exam when they go with the integrated spread.js versus the Excel integration and things. That they think what's causing a lot of the technical issues is trying to lock down Excel and use it in the exam is just very difficult and creates a lot of issues. They're going to have a new test driver, which is more of a streaming function than what they have now. So they hope to eliminate the technical side of the stuff. But so far they're doing okay. It's just no real major issues.
Mhm.
Okay, we can go to our exam performance, which for 2022 Q1, we had 374 new candidates, and we had a pass rate of 48.89 or 49% with an average score of 70. But the pass rate and average score put us down towards the bottom. But in terms of candidates and sections, we're in the top 4.
Wow, we're in the top 4. I mean, how's
Yeah,
that?
well, that's what's kind of interesting, because here for Q1 here, you're looking at 2022 versus 21 and 20. And we're showing a 49% increase over last year in the first quarter. And that's new unique candidates. Actually, I can't tell if I think that's in sections. But overall, we're showing an increase in applicants and in candidates taking the exam, whereas from a national standpoint, you'll see it's decreasing. So I think the difference is that we're more, as you know, we're all more foreign. 90% of our candidates are foreign versus the domestic U.S., where you can't get people to work, you can't get people to take the test either. And, enrollment in universities has dropped. But that's the one thing that's kind of funny. I thought it was interesting to see that 21% of our candidates are enrolled and are in a program to complete their education. So now we have 20% of the people that haven't actually finished their degree yet. So they're taking it earlier. But again, we're, at 92% foreign addresses. So as opposed to the overall nationwide or worldwide, where you're looking at an 8% decrease from last year, and we have a 49% increase. So, and even though we're in the bottom, 35 of the jurisdictions for pass rate and score, we're not that far off, because the overall pass rate was 51%. We're only 2 points off of that. and the average score was only 71.6, which is only 1 point higher than our average score was. So, relatively speaking, so we're hanging in there. But from a candidate standpoint or section standpoint, we're doing much better than the overall domestic U.S. is. The other thing that's funny, I mean, they're only 15-16% foreign, so 85% domestic, which kind of shows you the difference between the people in the States and domestically versus the foreign candidates. So California had 3,500, and yet their pass rate was 49. So we're within, 1/10 of a point of their pass rate, and 1/5 of or a half a point in terms of the average score. So overall, I don't think we're that far down, even though it says we're in the 35th jurisdiction. So. California had 3 times the number of candidates we had and still have basically the same score and the same pass rate. New York has 3 times and basically they're the same thing. They're 49.4, so less than a half a point percentage difference. And again, less than half a point difference in the scoring. And Texas was the next one with twice as many. And Texas has a higher pass rate and a higher score, but Texas also has a more rigid process for taking the exam. Their notice to schedules only last 3 months. And they also have a much more rigid education standard that you actually have to have completed all of your education before you sit for the exam. You can't sit for it ahead of time. And they have some other rules that are kind of interesting that knock out a lot of people. For instance, if you took the exam and didn't take your ethics course before you took the exam, they will not accept your exam scores. You will have to complete an ethics course and then take the exam again. Yeah, which is to me kind of odd, but that's Texas. So. Any questions on exam performance? No. Okay. I don't know if everybody knows about the Russian sanctions. I guess you've probably heard of them.
Yeah.
The firms anyway. The White House decided that they were going to sanction anybody who works with anybody in Russia. So this is all the details I put here for the record, but basically what they're saying, the bottom line is that anybody who assists any person in Russia in any way, from providing accounting, trust, corporate formation, management consulting services, is subject to being sanctioned because doing so is prohibited. Directly or indirectly, wherever located, to any person located in the Russian Federation. So just be sure you know who you're talking to when you're consulting with somebody online. Be sure you know where they are and make sure that the Treasury doesn't come after you. They have a whole list of people here that names and everything. So I just put it here for the record, but I'm not sure we have a whole lot of problems with this. But anyway, just so you know, I thought it was kind of interesting that the prohibitions include making any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services by, to, or for the benefit of any blocked person, and the receipt of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services from a such person. I mean, and they don't have to be the bad guy. They just have to be located in the Russian Federation. So just be sure you know who you're talking to and where they are. Last thing I have is the financial statement. I revised it this morning. NASBA sent me the May statistics for CPACE. So I put it in the actual. So what we're looking at is from a overall fee standpoint, I think we're pretty much on track, except for what looks like licensing fees. But as you know, most of those are coming this month. We've been inundated with renewals. So I think once we get June's information processed for renewals, we'll know where we stand. But I'm pretty sure we're going to beat our 500,000 revenue budget. We'll probably be over maybe 20, 30,000. If we don't beat it, we will at least make it. I'm pretty certain of that. And discounting the contributions we've made to the endowment fund, we should wind up somewhere between 75, I think 75 and 100 is what I'm thinking now. I was thinking earlier because I couldn't tell, but from the information that NASMA sent this morning, if you look at our CPACE exam applications, we're still showing an uptrend even through May on candidates applying as Guam candidates to take the exam and in sections. So considering that we're on this uptrend since February, and it was basically up from December to January, and then it's just continued to moderately climb. I think it's just going to continue because all of the candidates also know that they want to finish before they have to take the exam, the new exam in January 24. So I think we're just going to see volume continue to increase. And maybe slowly. But
Dave, where are most of the folks taking the exams?
I can't really say. The foreign ones, I can't say. I've asked NASMA; they can't really tell which candidates are taking the exam where. I've asked about that. It's hard. They say it's hard to tell.
Dave, I think a lot of our licensees are Japanese, right? The Guam licensees, and so I just assume they're taking it in Japan. The new ones.
A lot of our Japanese
Korea.
licensees are mostly in Japan. We don't get a lot of Koreans.
Licensees, yeah.
But most of our licensees but most of our Guam candidates are either Japanese or foreign Middle Eastern, Chinese, Mongolian, and all of the Middle East, Indian, you name it. And I would think most of them are testing. The Japanese, of course, are testing in Japan. I don't know about the Taiwanese. I think some of them come here, some of them test probably in Japan. The Koreans will either come here or test in Korea. And I think they've been able to test in Korea so far, even though that's a very small test center. But then all the Middle East, now they test in India. They also test in Germany, and some of the Europeans test in Germany and India. And then we also get some from South America and Brazil. It's just everywhere. And now that they've opened it up, it's just going to be even more universal. Previously, the restrictions were if you were from this area, you had to go test in one of these two places, especially in the Middle East. But now it's all more or less a free-for-all. So, but I think most of our candidates are the Japanese candidates, but they test in Japan. So. Now, the second most candidates we get would be Chinese, but lately in the last maybe 2 years, it's gotten to be pretty even with all the rest between the Middle East and India and China. So, but that's where we're at. I think we're doing okay from a financial standpoint. Even without the test center, we can survive without a problem. So at this point, we're doing okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Nothing from this, but what's the status of the new board member?
We
Do we
submitted
know?
everything. We submitted everything. Arlene submitted to Weekly, or the person who took Weekly's place, to the governor's office, and we haven't heard back. It's kind of difficult. I think trying to get anything out of the governor's office this past week was difficult because of the address going on and all those things. So, but everything's been submitted, so we're just waiting. And I'm, hoping that we can actually be contacted before they decide to swear him in, not like they did telling without telling us. So,
Okay. And when do you think we'll eventually be able to get back to in-person meetings?
We can get to in-person meetings as soon as we get a camera system that works in the conference room. So
Okay.
we can set it up so that everything gets broadcast from there. It was suggested that we could all sit in the conference room with our laptops and Zoom each other. So we would be live streaming. But I'm looking at the systems. I just was talking to somebody about one that they say works really well. So I think it's going to probably cost us a couple of $1,000, but we have to do that, and then probably beef up our internet connection at the office so that we have enough bandwidth for live streaming.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but,
I think we have, I think the AGA did something. Maybe if someone is with the AGA knows how they did it.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 camera systems out there I was looking at, but this latest one they say is you basically put it on the table and it can focus on everybody who's talking and all that stuff. So it's supposed to be one of the better systems. So.
Yeah, the AGA did it at the DUCIT because the DUCIT had the audio visual.
Oh, they
Yeah.
did.
To do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, those DUCIT's tools or equipment. Okay.
Yeah. The one I looked at before was between $2,500 and $3,000, but the way you had to set it up was like one side of the room, and then everybody kind of faced that, so that you're kind of limited to everybody being in this one certain area, so it could get you on the camera thing. The new things they have are these several cameras you place around the room, and it essentially makes a kind of a surround picture kind of thing, keeps track of everybody and all this kind of stuff. It's newer technology. So, of course, how long it takes to get one, I don't know yet, because we've we've got over 3,000 pounds of computers and gear that people have ordered and still sitting on the tarmac in Hawaii for 6 weeks now, waiting for UPS to deliver it. UPS flies one plane a week, and that's it. And every week we get a notice that it didn't make it. So I don't know how to speed it up. Anyway, we'll find out. But is everybody ready to go back to in-person meetings sooner than later?
I mean, it's virtual is fine with me, but you're not too far away.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy with in person. I mean, we can do that. Not a problem. But anyway, I can get it set up as soon as I can. So
Okay.
we'll be ready. So okay. The NASBA annual meeting is in San Diego, and that's October. I believe it's October 30 through November 2nd. So anybody who's interested in going, let me know. I think they'll probably put out the scholarship notice in another month or, month or two. So let me know if you're interested and I'll make sure I put in the scholarship request.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I have. Anything else for discussion?
No, just on the trip that we came back from, it was interesting because I got that notice that several members of NASBA tested positive, including attendees. So it was very interesting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We got a notice like that from Tony and I did from the Kronos conference we attended in Las Vegas. Had about 300 people there, and a couple of days after the meeting, they sent a notice that about 15 people had tested positive. But luckily we've made all our trip 5-6 weeks worth of trips and going everywhere and riding planes and had no problems. So
That's good.
yeah.
I mean, the NASBA
Yeah.
regional meeting there was only about 125 people, I think, right? Or less.
Yeah,
120.
it was a little less, I guess, because you have to remember though that's for the Western region, so they're kind
Yeah.
of splitting everybody into two groups. So yeah, there's 125, 150 people there.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I thought it was interesting with the breakout sessions we had. Some of the issues they raised. But okay.
I don't have any other items for discussion. Does anyone have anything else to discuss?
Well,
If not,
okay.
okay. Can I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Okay. Okay, we're adjourned and I'm gonna stop recording.